Good evening, everyone. I am Rashmi Mahabian, welcoming you to this panel discussion on soy protein for a better tomorrow, brought to you by Right to Protein. We all know that protein is a part of every cell in the body. It helps the body to build and repair the cells and tissues and is a major component of the skin, muscles, bone, organs, hair, and nails. However, despite it being so essential, protein is slipping away from the Indian diet. There have been several reports indicating that India's protein consumption is lower than the average recommended requirement. The Indian Council of Medical Research recommends that an average adult should consume between zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight every day. Right to Protein, through its protein paradox study, also found that low knowledge, misinformation, and myths about protein sources lead to poor consumption in Indian households. It further found that people could not identify basic sources of protein and also understand why they should consume it. In this discussion, we will explore how soya bean is, a, is in diet fills this gap, which is the healthiest plant protein one can consume, not only because it is high in protein content, but also because it contains all the essential amino acids similar to that found in meat. To raise awareness about protein-rich soya food that can help meet daily protein requirements, the month of April is also celebrated as the Soy Month globally. And to further spread information on the nutritional aspects of soya, we have been joined by an eminent panel of experts in this panel discussion today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Suresh Itapu, nutraceutical expert and director at Nutritech India, Namami Agarwal, nutritionist and founder at Namami Life, and Mr. Varun Deshpande, managing director at the Good Food Institute. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. So before we go ahead, I would like to inform our audience that the panel discussion would be followed by a question and answer session. So attendees, please feel free to share your questions in the chat window below. Now, let's first start by understanding how our experts feel about soy and its nutritional quality and what are its health benefits. So my first question is to Dr. Suresh. What makes soy so rich in protein, and would you describe it as a versatile ingredient?
Thank you, Rashmi. Good evening, everyone. As it's been introduced, soy is it's one of the richest source of protein. If you look at any protein sources, this is the highest density protein source with about if you take soybean, it has about 40% protein, and it is not just the protein. We only talk about protein, but soy has a number of other nutritional components like oil, fiber, vitamin, minerals, and especially bioactive components. So this makes this as a rich source of nutrients, and I say it is the wonderful nature's nutritional gift to the mankind. Because it's packed with so much of nutrition, and the protein, even though it's a vegetable source, vegetarian source, leguminous crop, the protein is at par with milk and egg, like other animal sources. So this is one of the best quality protein. And when it comes to versatility, as Rashmi has asked, say soy being a good protein, it also has number of applications in the food industry and adaptability to the daily diet of mankind. Whether you take any cuisine, whether you take looking at Indian cuisine or Oriental or Western cuisine, soy is versatile because of its protein, its other nutrients. You can actually process them in such a way so you can actually adapt it to a number of food applications. Imagination is the only limitation. You can actually introduce soy into any food product, whether it is simple soy milk and tofu, or you are talking about textured soy protein, which we'll be discussing at length today. And we have successfully developed the lentil analog, a product which looks like lentil, cooks like lentil, made out of soy, which can be a perfect solution to the nutritional issues we are facing. And not only that, soy is one of the highly studied as well as highly adapted by the food processing industry all across the world. So it is processed into number of value-added ingredients, whether you are talking about defatted soy flour, which can be used in the bakery applications, or whether you are talking about soy protein isolate, which can be used in the meat analogs, or dry blended beverages, or protein supplements, or maybe the bars, nutritional bars, you name it. We can adapt this because of its versatility, the ingredients and the protein functionality. So this can be a very, very versatile product that can find applications, and you can actually include that in our daily diet without compromising the taste. That is in brief about this. We can discuss at length on this again.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. Coming to you, Ms. Namami, what are the health benefits of consuming adequate soy, and how can people incorporate it in their daily diet?
Hi, Rashmi. Thank you for having me today. Good evening, everyone. I agree with Dr. Suresh, whatever he said, and also with Rashmi that, protein is the food group that we generally do not meet the expectation that how much we need to eat in our daily diet. So I'm glad we're doing this for protein awareness. There are many benefits around soy when it comes to soy. I will be talking about in what form we can have and what other different types of soy products available. First, I would like to address about the nutritional benefits. First things first, it helps in sleep disorder. So, it has magnesium, so it's good for better sleep, restfulness. Second, it's heart healthy, like Dr. Suresh mentioned that, it's cholesterol free. It's good in omega-3, omega-6. It has high fiber, so good for our digestion. Another thing that it's also good for pregnant women because it has folic acid nutritional value. So this is something that pregnant ladies should include in the diet because 1 serving of soy will give you 28 grams of protein, which is 1/3 of the serving daily requirement an individual would need. So that's another great benefit is it helps to make bones stronger. So these were a few benefits about soy. Yes, there are different products available, soy nuggets, soy chunks, edamame. So different forms you can have soy. First, you can have it, you can add soy flour instead of all-purpose flour when it comes to baking. Second, you can also add soybean or soy nuts in your salads for the crunchiness. And third, like I said, edamame, my favorite snack to munch on. Low in calories, high in protein. So yeah, why not? Especially for those who are watching on weight. So edamame is a great option. And last, a great trick to replace cream in any of the dessert is to add soy yogurt.
Thank you, Ms. Namami. So, Mr. Varun, as you heard Mr. Suresh and Namami, what makes soy, according to you, a favorable ingredient in the alternative protein industry?
Thank you so much, Rashmi, and thanks everyone for joining us. It's a real pleasure to be here. So, Dr. Suresh mentioned this earlier. We at the Good Food Institute India focus on this alternative protein segment that you just mentioned, Rashmi. It's really analogs to meat, eggs, and dairy that are focused on perfectly replicating the cultural and the sensory experience of those animal sourced foods. And the reason to do this is just to provide a diversity of choices to consumers. And it just so happens that, to consumers and to producers, right? So that they can get into innovative next generation food products as well on the production side. But it just so happens for some of the reasons that Dr. Suresh and Namami mentioned, because of the way it's been studied over decades, because of the availability of soy ingredients and the innovation that's ongoing in next generation ingredients that are highly functional is what we say in food science. They are basically very apt to be utilized in next generation products. Soy happens to be the easiest ingredient to use in these next generation, let's say meat analogs, right? So we're talking about not the previous generation of our grandparents' soya nuggets or soya chap, which is also delicious, but we're talking about the next generation of products that can perfectly replicate the bite and the texture of a chicken or a mutton, etc., to provide that choice to consumers. So let's say, for example, I'm sure all of us know on platforms like Swiggy or Zomato, they do very well in months like Shravan, selling a jackfruit, a kathal biryani. Now imagine, during this Shravan, you could have the option of tasting a biryani which tastes exactly like your mutton or your chicken biryani, but instead of being made from chicken or mutton, which you can't eat during Shravan as a Hindu, you have the option of eating it made from soya. So that's really the next generation of products that are coming through that consumers are very, very excited about, especially globally. It's really grown into a huge industry that's basically creating a protein diversification. And soya is one of the crops that's really underpinning this growth. So that's because of its versatility and its functionality and how well it's been studied over the decades.
Thank you, Mr. Varun. Since everyone is now more concerned about building their immunity, I would like to come back to you, Ms. Namami. Do protein and soy foods play a crucial role in boosting immunity as well?
So Rashmi, it's a great question, especially nowadays we all are looking to build up immunity. Ways, different ways how we can do that. Protein, having said that, protein is a very good way when it comes to building your immunity. Our immune system is the first line of defense when it comes to uh, uh, against, when it comes to invading any microorganism, harmful microorganism or bacteria or viruses for that matter. And on the other hand, proteins are required for tissue building and repairment. So the antibodies and the immune cells are basically made up of protein. So of many roles of protein, one of the important functions of protein is to build immunity, because immune cells need protein for repairment and for building up of new cells. Say, lymphocytes, cytokines, or phagocytes. All of these functions, all of these cells need protein to function properly. So soy is a great way to add protein in the diet. Like I said, one serve will give you 28 grams of protein. So, I mean, it's a great way to add protein.
Thank you so much. But since you guys mentioned a lot about lot of options that we have in soy, we would now like to understand, along with the nutritional benefits, what are the soy-based foods, and if we want to break it down in nutrition profile as well. So, Namami, what are the top three soy foods that you would recommend?
Well, I think I've already said this before, but then let's break it down from the basic. So soy is basically the member of pea family, the vegetable. And like Varun said, that, it's great for someone who's lactose intolerant, great for someone who has, who doesn't tolerate milk properly. So soy milk is a good, it's a great alternative. And plus, it's great for someone who's vegetarian or following a vegan diet. So I feel apart from like other milk products, soy milk is the best alternative for someone who's lactose. Second, I would say edamame, like I said, great option to munch on. It's the best way. And, we all have third, we all have sweet tooth, and we all look for ways to, curb our sweet cravings. So I would say soy yogurt.
Mr. Varun, you kind of addressed this question a bit, but just to underline and give a broader perspective, how has the industry been using soy for the alternative protein market?
Yeah, and Dr. Suresh mentioned some of these things earlier as well. There are all of these ingredients that emerge from any crop, whether it's the flowers, the protein isolates, other things that might emerge from the crop, where we really use every part of the plant, right? There's a starch fraction, there's a protein fraction, and soy, of course, has a high quality of that protein, as we've been discussing. So, I mean, the ingredients that are utilized in the plant-based protein space, whether it's a plant-based dairy or a plant-based egg or a plant-based meat application, they use a variety of these. They use fats, they use proteins, they use starches, they use binders, emulsifiers. Really, I mean, the things that exist in, let's say, a bread, or the things that are actually part of the components of an animal meat. Also, if you look at the ingredients of animal meat, you'll find similar things, right, in it. So there's a protein fraction, there's a fat fraction, there's a minerals fraction, etc. So soy, as I mentioned earlier, is the most mature ingredient in this space. It overwhelmingly kind of dominates the ingredients of plant-based protein foods. So you'll find people, Namami just mentioned it, soy milk has been known for decades here, and especially in parts of East Asia, Southeast Asia also, it's known for a very long time. So people are using soy ingredients to make these next generation products, whether it's, you'll see companies making chicken keema, plant-based chicken keema, right, which is meant to give you that taste, smell, sizzle, and all the sensory and cultural resonance of a chicken keema. So you can have it in the same applications, but it's made from soy instead. And then also people are making yogurts, as Namami mentioned. plant-based milks, even egg applications, so scrambled eggs. I mean, you never would have thought about 10 years ago, we've had these traditional applications like moonglets or even like, chillas and things like that. But now we're getting products made from soy protein and other sources that basically are fluffy and scramble exactly like an egg. So these are really exciting times. I think consumers' set of choices is expanding, whether you're eating it on any day of the week or you're eating it on as a Tuesday, Saturday protein or a Shravan protein. I think there's a set of options now that has not been available before, which is very exciting.
When we talk about soy, despite it having too many nutritional benefits as well, it is also surrounded with a lot of misinformation and myths. So I would like to firstly debunk some of the most common myths that soy foods have, and you could also put more additions to it because you would have seen and heard more than us. Starting with Dr. Suresh, everyone assumes soy causes allergies. Is that true?
Actually, it's this has been there, and any food can be an allergic to any person. So it is not like soy is the one that causes allergy, or peanuts, or milk, or anything like that. Any protein source, and you will be surprised to know some places in Japan, some people in Japan are allergic to rice. Okay, so if some product is giving allergy to a person, so that is only option is you have to avoid it. But soy is one of the allergens. But if you look at the order of occurrence of allergenicity, soy comes at very low end, like out of like 9 allergens which the industry or the regulators have identified, soy comes in the 8th. And crustaceans, egg, fish, milk, peanut, tree nuts, and all those things are above soy. And the incidence of the occurrence of soy allergenicity is also very low. And if you just take an example for milk and egg, in children, about 1 to 2% of milk allergic to milk. But whereas when it comes to soy, the studies show that only 0.1%, and most of the allergenicity will go away when the children grow up. Whether like in the adult stage, the allergenicity will come down to as low as 0.04. But being a protein, definitely it may cause an allergenicity to some people. That is how it is. And if somebody is allergic, we have to avoid that. But if it is not an allergic to anybody, being very low, as I said, so there is absolutely no issue. Anybody can consume it. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, sir. Coming to Namami, people say that soy is loaded with harmful estrogen and interferes with thyroid functioning, causing breast cancer. Would you like to share some insights here? Because these are some major concerns.
Well, I think it's a misconception because soy does not increases estrogen, or it does not lower the testosterone levels in men. It's the normal misconception that everyone has. Soy has this, natural isoflavones, which is basically the natural plant chemical, which is classified as phytoestrogens. And this one, it mimics same action of the hormone estrogen, and actually it serves various health benefits, especially for women, for menopausal women. They do face hot flushes, so it eases the symptoms basically. So I think it's all misconception. Having said that, yes, portion size needs to be monitored. It's not ki kha rahe hain to bas khate ja rahe hain. You have to control on the portion size. That's all.
Coming back to you, Mr. Suresh, it is also said that soy products are genetically modified and hence should not be consumed. Do you agree with that? What are your views?
It is not true in the sense soy is genetically modified to some extent. But if you look at the soy that actually being consumed by human beings, out of around 300 million tons of soy whichever is produced, about 90% is genetically modified. Okay. So about 10% of that, which actually goes as a direct human food, most of the places in the world, they all consume non-genetically modified or non-GM soy food, soybean as a human food. So in India, if you look at, there is nothing like genetically modified because India doesn't produce GM soy and we don't import GM soy. So there is absolutely no issue. Even though in countries where they produce GM, So it is mainly in the human food, it is mainly non-GM that is used. But as a scientist, as a technical person who understands GM technology, there is absolutely no issue with the GM or non-GM. As I personally will take GM, and absolutely no issue with that, because when the regulators issue certification or allow GM into the food chain, they do a lot of studies. There are so much of studies conducted. If a GM crop coming to the food chain, it has to undergo so much of studies, and it will be studied for almost like 8 to 10 generations. And then they will look at the various effects on that, and then only the regulators will allow it into the food chain. And looking at the global population, now we have almost like a 7 billion population, and which is going to be 9 billion by 2050. And we have a limited land availability. And this technology is one which can actually help us in feeding the people. But after your question, we have no GM in India, not only India, even if you take China or US, or of course, there is a labeling is there, because consumers have to give in the choice. If somebody is using some GM ingredients, it has to be labeled, it will be labeled. That is consumer choice. Like people like me who has no issue with GM, I may consume, I will consume. But if somebody, you don't like it, so you read the label and you take your own decision. But I have a lot of faith on the regulators when they allow GM products. But GM foods are not there right now in India. There is absolutely no issue. It is just a myth that soy is GM. It is not at all like that. Over.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Varun and Namami, would you like to bust some more myths that you guys have come across?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd like to say, sorry, Namami, would you like to go first? Okay, one thing I'd like to say, I think Dr. Suresh touched upon this a little bit. So, I mean, we are currently, a lot of us we're part of this initiative called Right to Protein, right? And soy foods are a major part of that, because we want to be able to deliver protein that is affordable, sustainable, nutritious to everyone, right? And especially at this time, when we're in the middle of a pandemic, when we're, concerned with things like climate crises, etc., I think we all need to just think about what the sources of protein that diversify those choices for consumers and producers are, which are going to get us there, and crucially, which are actually desirable by consumers. Now, whether it's, I don't come from an organization that is specifically focused on promoting soy, right? We focus on accelerating the alternative protein sector across business, science, and policy. And the sources for that could be soy, pea protein, mung bean protein, whatever, right? But I'm basically here to say that soy is one of our premier choices when it comes to actually making foods that consumers want to eat, which are attractive, which are protein rich, affordable, and highly sustainable. And I mean that for every level of the socioeconomic pyramid, which is absolutely critical, right? It can't just be someone who's living in Malabar Hill in Mumbai or in the corresponding area in Delhi or Hyderabad or Bangalore, right? We have to talk about all the way down to rural areas, urban slums, whatever it might be. I think we need to be able to expand that set of choices for people in ways that don't break the planet. And that's a really, really important point for us moving forward.
Mr. Mommy, what myths would you like to bust that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I think the most, Varun covered most, everything. The aspect of protein, why is it important and why is it not? And you have already asked the most common misconception that, we generally are, we asked about. So I think, yeah.
Rashmi,
yes,
if
sir.
I may add a little bit to your question, there one myth always comes. I have been working on soy for a number of years, and people ask me about soy is not good for men. So this is something which has been coming, and if you type on Google, they say this is the first myth that comes in. There is absolutely nothing like that. And China has been consuming, Orient has been consuming soy for thousands of years. And people say that they consume fermented soy. It is not like that. They consume soy milk, tofu, which is not fermented. And the amount of fermented soy they consumed is very little. So I'm going back to that question on the men's health. If China has an issue, they consume 45 grams of soybean every day for the last maybe 5,000 years, if not 5,000 years, maybe 1,000 years. And you know how they are fighting this population problem. if there is any issue on the men's health, China wouldn't be adopting a one-child policy a few years back. So that is absolutely no issue. And this all came out from a study which was conducted in Hawaii on young rats, which is about 200 grams of rats were given 200 milligrams of isoflavone, and found that they found the problem with their testosterone levels and like that. Imagine a rat, which is 250 grams, is consuming 250 milligrams of isoflavone. For a human being like us to have that same impact, we must be eating maybe 2 kg or 3 kg of soybean every day. If anybody eats that much amount of any food, even if they drink water, maybe 10 liters of water in a day, that may cause a problem. So what happened is when you do most of the myth, not only the men's health, most of the myths are like when they do studies which are not practically relevant. So then you extrapolate that to the human health effects. That is where the myths come in. So the same thing with whether the estrogen issues or the thyroid issue or the men's health issue or anything like that. So if you, as Namami said, if you consume in moderation like any other food product, there is absolutely no issue. China with 45 grams of soybean every day, Taiwan about 40 grams, Japan about 35 grams soybean consuming every day. They have absolutely no issue with any of the effects. In fact, they are actually getting benefited by the positive benefits of soy. This way we can discuss a long at length, but I will stick to the time and then we can go on with other questions.
So broadly that we've debunked most of the important myths around soy, we will now get into understanding the possible applications of soy and its innovation in the food industry. So talking about food industry, I would like to jump to Mr. Varun. What is the scope of innovation in soy protein, according to you?
Yeah, I mean, so we're living at a very, very exciting time when it comes to food innovation. I think we all kind of see this. You're seeing all kinds of really interesting new brands, whether it comes to, I mean, even Ayurvedic ingredients. Like, I know we're talking about soy right now, but you're seeing things like ashwagandha and turmeric, all kinds of things that are being utilized in really interesting food applications right now. So everything we're talking about is set against that backdrop, right? And I think, we work with universities, with young students, with entrepreneurs, large corporations, and I can tell you that everyone is very excited about food science and food technology as a career right now, which is a great time to, I think, be alive and think about these things, whether you're a consumer or you're a student or whatever, right? So, when it comes to soy, we're seeing these kind of broad applications. You'll see Dr. Suresh mentioned tofu, which of course is not really, it's not native to India, but it's growing, right? You'll see soy tofu growing a lot. It's sometimes called soya paneer, right? Some of the brands call it soya paneer, and that will continue to grow. You're seeing tempeh, which is fermented soybean, again, highly nutritious, nutrient dense, etc., and very versatile these products are. We would class these as kind of center of plate, non-meat-like, protein-rich soy applications, and then everything else I said earlier, when it comes to the meat-like or egg-like or dairy-like applications are also expanding, right? So, I mean, I think that whether you're lactose intolerant or you just want to try something new, there's a lot of opportunity right now. And actually flipping this on its head, not for nutritionists necessarily or for consumers, I would encourage young people to think about getting into this space as an entrepreneurial endeavor also, because this is something that's really exciting and we're seeing a lot of momentum in that area. So, just to give you an example, or a couple of examples, companies like Blue Tribe Foods, which was started by the MD, the managing director of Alchem Labs, which is a publicly listed $5 billion biopharmaceutical company. He decided that he wants to get into the space of plant proteins. And of course, soy protein isolates or whatever forms part of their ingredients that they use in their plant-based chicken nuggets or their plant-based chicken keema. Equally, Ritesh and Janelia Deshmukh, the Bollywood actors, have started something called Imagine Meats, which is also going to come up with, soya protein based plant-based meat substitutes. So you're going to see a lot of really exciting product launches in this space. And to answer your question more directly, Rashmi, I think what is the scope? The sky's the limit. There's a lot that we can do in this generation, and it's very exciting.
So it seems that utilizing soy, you really see it competing with the next generation foods. So could you give us some of the views that you have right now, and what do you see currently happening?
Yeah, I mean, so these are all the next generation foods that are coming out, right? So I think, I mean, for us also, the way that we see it is whether it's, your retail locations, home delivery, these cloud kitchens, food service, if you go out to eat, canteens, etc. What we're seeing in other parts of the world is that this has really become totally mainstream, the diversification of protein sources, especially the last few categories I mentioned, the meat, egg, and dairy substitutes that we're seeing. It's become totally mainstream to go to even a work canteen and see, you'll see right alongside the conventional chicken or the conventional mutton or beef in a place like the US, you'll see a Beyond Burger or an Impossible Burger, which is made from soy, or you'll see something else that's made from soy or other ingredients that's kind of, competing for the consumer's mind share, which is really interesting and great. I think that'll happen in India as well. That's going to be great for industry and for consumers here. I'm seeing a couple of comments in the chat asking about why it hasn't happened already. If I can just really quickly say, we do need a lot more investment, I think, in processing, right? We're still in a position where we're having to, import some of these ingredients and things like that. And, with soy, which is a very mature ingredient in a place like India, we have a lot of farming going on of soya. We do need to invest a little bit more in processing of these, because we don't want to be, we already grow all of these ingredients and we have a great agri supply in this country. We don't necessarily want to be relying on imports for some of this stuff.
My last question, rather, it's something that has been in my mind, that when you're talking about meat and soy, so does nutritional value of soy change when it is used in mock meat foods and other products?
No, so I mean, I'll want to defer a little bit to Namami also about this, but all the producers, the entrepreneurs are focused on matching the nutritional qualities of whatever it is they're offering an alternative to. So, if you wanted to eat a chicken nugget, then they're looking at matching that. And, they sometimes get a bit better because, of course, plant-based sources don't have cholesterol in them and all of that. So there is that aspect of it as well. And so it gives you that option. If you want to have something that's without cholesterol and, which matches the macronutrient content, the plant-based protein source is one option for you. Namami, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Varun. It's cholesterol free. Plus, I feel, every food item, whether we talk about soy or we talk about XYZ, any other food item, they differ when it comes to nutritional aspect, the nutrients that they provide. So if you talk about, say, the non-veg sources, it doesn't, it contains some form of cholesterol. Soy is cholesterol free. And it's not only about the nutrition, it's also about the I would say intolerance. Say someone who has celiac disease, not able to tolerate normal wheat flour. Soy flour is a great alternative for those people. Second, we mentioned about this, lactose intolerant. Soy milk is a great alternative again. So it's not only about the nutritional aspect. You have a lot of other food items that can meet the requirement. You can combine two food items together. But then yes, these are it's about the deficiencies as well. It's about the disorder as well.
My next question is also to you.
Rashmi,
Yeah.
Rashmi, I just would like to add to what Varun and Namami has mentioned. To the question you asked, actually, there is no issue with the nutritional value. Actually, we can do even better than the natural meat, alter meat we are looking at, because this is a formulated product. It's a designed product. If you are looking at increasing protein, if you are trying to increase different vitamins and minerals which are not there in the meat, so that you can actually make it like a designer food, because it's formulated to suit the nutritional requirements of any segment of population. That is one thing. Another is like with soy, we have developed something like a diabetic rice, like a high protein, low glycemic rice. You use rice flour, you use soy protein isolate, do something called extrusion cooking, and make rice which is high in protein and high in vitamins, minerals, which can be added while the processing. So this is actually, we are processing it in such a way to meet the nutritional requirements of the segment of population you are looking at. So we are not looking at actually loss of nutrients. We are actually looking at improving the nutritional profile of the product. I thought I'll just add that to the question we have asked. Okay, over to you.
Great. So my next question is also to Ms. Namami. When we talk about soy, how should nutritionists listening to us today explain the health benefits of these foods and the consumption to their patients and also clients?
Well, I think we have already spoken about this before, but then I would like to elaborate a bit. Right now, like we mentioned, immunity is the topmost concern. So it's health it helps to build up on the immunity aspect. Proteins are very important, and soy, Dr. Suresh did mention, it contains good quality protein. I would like to add, it contains, it consists of complete protein. So basically, it has all the amino acids present in it. Like how vegetarians, we have to add like dal and rice together to make it a complete source of protein. Soy in itself is a complete source of protein. So adding one serve is going to benefit you a lot. That's one aspect. Second, good for digestion. A lot of us, we have digestion problem, IBS, constipation, whatever, XYZ. A lot of problems related to digestion. It's high in fiber, so great for someone who has digestive disorders. Third, good for pregnant women, like I mentioned. It has folic acid content, so great for someone who's pregnant. Uh, Bone health. It has copper, it has calcium, it has magnesium, it has selenium. So all of these vitamins and minerals, they support good bone health. For someone who's, say, let's say arthritis or osteoporosis, great, good for bone health. So I would say it's better to add at least one serve of soy in your diet because it gives you 28 grams of protein. And it's the easiest way to calculate, and it's the easiest way when it comes to adding protein. You really don't have to look into much ki acha iske saath what do I add apart from this to make it a complete source of protein.
Great. So my next question is to Dr. Suresh. It is said that all soy products are, since we already discussed the genetically modified ones, how can the second question is, how can the government and food processors and manufacturers help increase soy consumption for better protein intake?
Yeah, I see a lot of role for the government. Of course, food processing industry is growing and they're adopting the soy foods. First, I will come to the food processing, then I will talk to the government role. Soy, as we discussed earlier, it's a very, very versatile product. As Varun has mentioned, we can use it in various alternate protein as a source. And it is one of the most functional ingredients as far as food processing industry is concerned. So we can actually adapt it properly and make products that can actually help the food processing industry to give a good, healthy, nutritious product. And also it can help them in bringing down some of their processing costs. Like we are looking at egg replacement, let us say in the cakes. If you understand it properly, the industry adopts it properly, they can make eggless cakes with using a good quality of soy protein with some other ingredients like lecithin. So they can replace expensive ingredients and give a good benefit to the consumers. Similarly, the industry can look at something like soy nuts, very, very simple product. Just take the beans, roast it and give it to the consumers. And today we have India with more than 190 million beneficiaries in ICDS midday meal program. This is one of the excellent source of protein, nutrient to the at-risk population. This is how industry can understand, adapt the process, adapt the functional advantages of soy in providing various food products that will help them in improving their production, marketing, and giving good product to the consumers. And when it comes to government, I feel government really hasn't realized the benefits of this. The nutritional benefits and the role of soy in alleviating malnutrition. We are personally involved in a study where 1,200 second-grade malnourished children were fed with soy for 1 year, and we found out that 90.5% children became normal from second-grade malnutrition, and the hemoglobin levels were improved. See, now government is talking a lot of and promoting micronutrient fortification to actually bring down the anemia level. Here we are looking at in anemia, we are looking at iron, but here hemoglobin means heme and globin. We are not realizing the importance of protein in increasing the hemoglobin level. In that study, what I mentioned, because of giving good quality, good amount of protein, that will also help in improving the hemoglobin level. So if government understands it better, this being one of the cheapest source of protein with so much of nutritional and health benefits, and especially for almost 30% of the people who are at risk in nutritionally at risk in India, I think government should take it seriously and introduce in the feeding programs and make it kind of mandatory in the feeding programs, and maybe adopting something like dal analog, which we have developed as an alternate to lentil, and India we import almost 5 million tons of dal. So this is a product made with a processed product, where adopting this will help in improving the industry, providing employment to the people, and at the same time good nutrient product to the population. So something like that, if government can look at the benefits of soy and adaptability in alleviating malnutrition, I think that is how we can increase the soy consumption in significant amount. Over.
Ashmi, can I just add something to that?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to really underline what Dr. Suresh just said. We are in 2021. We're in the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is going to have severe effects on our ability to tackle malnutrition, which was a pre-existing problem even before the COVID-19 pandemic in our country, right? So, we have significant challenges that we talk about our demographic dividend in India. Our population is the youngest in the world. And we really, really have to safeguard our future, because things like severe acute malnutrition, iron deficiency anemia, neural tube defects, these kinds of things, they basically rob an entire generation of its ability to shape its own destiny, right? And we have the opportunity now in this decade, when the world has signed on to the Sustainable Development Goals, of which zero hunger is one. We have this opportunity and this challenge. We only have 9 years in this decade to really target these problems. And especially leading on from the pandemic, we really have to think about building back better. So whether it's, whatever the vehicle, again, I'm not focused on specifically promoting soya. The goal that I'm trying to raise here is we need to really target these problems, right? And soy happens to be one of the best ways to do it. So I think whatever we're talking about, we have to all band together as a country, whether it's, policy interventions, industry, as well as nutritionists, consumers. We all have to really take charge of this destiny that we have in front of us. And we don't have that much time to do it.
Thank you so much to all the speakers. These meaningful insights, I hope that the audience has really taken from. And we will now begin with the Q&A to address some of the queries that we've also been receiving from our audience. And the first question is for Mr. Suresh. So this is a person wants to know, what are the different protein-rich products for consumers that can be made from whole soy?
Okay, when you're just talking about whole soybeans, the protein-rich products, one I said is the soy nuts. Soy nuts is an excellent snack and alternate to peanuts. It's the whole soybean with all the benefits of soy, whether it is protein, fiber, and other micronutrients, and the glycine, which has a role in the in today's pandemic, improving immunity, and so many things, lecithin, or so many vitamins and minerals. So this is an excellent snack and economic and healthy alternate to peanuts. And without any additional aflatoxin issues or anything like that. So this is something we can do it. And whole beans can be cooked, because you are talking about high protein. Whole bean itself is high protein, which has about 40% protein in it. So if you do it in any of our cuisines, or like if you add it to like wheat flour, which a lot of people in North India already do it, so that will actually give the full benefits of protein. And there are whole bean products, means if you are looking at some of the fermented products, like tempeh is something which is slowly picking up in India. But if you look at the Northeast, we have whole bean, fermented whole bean is being consumed in all the 7 sisters of Northeast for centuries. They have similar to tempeh there, that's made from whole beans. So like that, it can be used in our daily cuisine. And if you are like somebody like a South Indian who want to make something like the vada or something like that, where you can use dosa, where you can use whole beans, and products like dosa, you can use whole beans. So whole bean itself are protein. So if you find it application, then it is like increasing the protein content in the product.
Okay, so the next question is for Namami. Can soy be recommended to geriatric patients?
Of course, yes, it can be. It's like I said, it's good for bone health. So it's great for for old people, because when we grow older, when we age, immunity goes down, our bone health goes down. There are a lot of deficiencies, calcium deficiency, B12, folic acid. So soy contains all of this. It's great if if elderly wants to consume this.
So the next question is soy good for hypothyroidism?
I think so, Dr. Suresh did mention about this. Everything in excess is bad. If you have like one serving of soy every single day, it will not harm you, provided you are not exceeding the quantity, providing you are mindful of what quantity you eat. So one serving is not going to harm you. It's just that you have to mind on the portion size. That's all.
The next question is for Mr. Varun. Does the processing soy add anything detrimental to humans, like residual solvents or any chemical used in processing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, I mean, by and large, soy protein isolates and even other, whether it's other protein isolates or even things like whey protein that are got from milk, etc. These methods have been established for a very long time, and they've been, established as safe for human consumption. That being said, there are newer and newer techniques that are being established over time, which do not even use what is known as solvent extraction, which is the question that's being asked. So you will get, isolation, protein concentration efforts and techniques and new technologies that are being used that don't even use those solvents, etc. So, even though it hasn't actually been a problem for human health, I think people are looking at newer and newer methods that could be even more efficient or cost effective in the long run, etc. One really interesting approach that's coming up also now is newer varieties of soy, right, which can be, again, produced through any traditional breeding technique. So non-GMO traditional breeding technique, in the same way that, the tomatoes we have right now are red because they were made through certain traditional breeding techniques over time. There are newer varieties of soy now, abroad and in India, that are even higher protein, higher, yield in terms of protein, and which you can take the protein out of without even using an extraction process. Just through a crushing process, you can get the protein out of. So, I mean, I've said this a few times on this panel already, but it is genuinely a very exciting time to be in food science right now.
So the next question is for Mr. Suresh. Why is India lagging behind the world even when soybean production is higher in India?
Okay, so this goes back to history. You may not be aware that way back in 1930, Mahatma Gandhi tried to introduce soy. Okay, so what happened was, when we tried to introduce soybeans as a whole bean, as an alternate to like lentils, that's what Mahatma Gandhi tried to do. He realized the importance of it, but those times even we didn't have a pressure cooker. Okay, so because it has a good amount of protein and good amount of fat, unlike other legumes. So it is very difficult to cook. Like if you cook a rajma or something, it takes a lot of time to cook. So those times we didn't have the pressure cooker. So it couldn't be made it palatable to the consumers. And again, when you come to like late 90s or like late 80s and early 90s, big companies started soy milk production. And so that time we were not very ready for the nutritional or health product. We were in the stage of filling our stomach and enough eating enough. And also at the time we adopted some technologies which produced soy milk not acceptable by Indian population. So which has a kind of beany flavor, which is acceptable in the Orient. So that put away some of the consumers, saying that no, it doesn't taste good, it has a beany flavor. And again in 70s, one organization, they introduced nuggets and granules as a protein food. But unfortunately, that was positioned as a poor man food. And if you position something as a poor man food, usually I think, oh, it is not for me, it is for them. So unfortunately, the nuggets and granules have that tag of it's not for me, it is for those poor people. So all these things put that this is not good. I mean, it's not for me, it is for those people. And also the overemphasis of anti-nutritional factors or the myths about soy also, if not today, I mean, it's been for years. Like when some of my professors who have done a lot of studies on soy, that they say that soy has trypsin inhibitor, the anti-nutritional factors. All foods have anti-nutritional factors. We are not consuming any food raw. So, but when you talk to the old generation nutritionists, they say it has anti-nutritional factors. So, but we are eating a cooked food, which has no issue, no problem with anti-nutritional factors. So all these things put like, oh, soy as put on like a backside saying that it is not, so people think it's not so good. That is something in the mindset, whether it is nutritionally or whether it is acceptability wise. But now, as Varun said, the food technology has improved so much, and now the products are made safe, made palatable, and you can actually imagine anything and do things with the food processing, with the food technology. Things are now better, and we see a lot of growth in the last maybe 10 years or so. The soy is growing at least 25% every year for the last 10, 12 years or so. So, but still a country like India with 1.5 billion population with 600,000 tons, 6 lakh tons, not 6 lakhs, 1.2 million tons of soybean is very, very limited. Nothing actually looking at 1.4 billion population. So it is improving, but still there is not much to do. And once we break down those myths like programs like this will definitely improve the consumption of soy.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving to Namami, there is a question on someone being a strict vegetarian. How do they include soy in daily food program? How is soy for digestion, and can it be eaten any time during the day or only in breakfast or lunch?
That's an interesting question, I feel. Soy, like, Dr. Suresh and Varun did mention a lot of products available from soy. So, I mean, you can have it anytime throughout the day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, mid-meal snack. Like I did mention, soy nuts, you can add it to your snacks to increase the nutritional quantity, the nutritional aspect of it, to add more protein. Salads, we generally think that we are in dilemma. What protein should I add? Should I add like paneer? Should I add other sources of protein? I mean, soy being a complete source of protein, you can add soy nuts. It will give that crunchiness also. Second, I would say again, soy is also you can add soy flour to your rotis. You can add like a lot of vegetables plus soy flour. So it's great for someone who's looking for protein-rich snack or protein-rich food item. Third, great for dessert. It's not only about the yogurt. You can actually make ice creams out of it. Soy ice cream. Soy milk, combine it with yogurt, coconut, and add flavors here and there, strawberry flavor, and enjoy delicious ice cream. Yes, I think that answer your question. And plus, you can have it any time of the day. You can have it in the form of chilas for breakfast. You can have it in the form of soy rice for lunch. You can have it in the form of edamame for evening snack, and dinner, of course, soy roll.
So this is the last question, and this is for Varun. What can nutritionists do to promote the acceptance of soy-based innovative foods, and what areas of collaboration do you see?
Yeah, this is a great question. I mean, so we primarily focus on helping the companies on the kind of production side, the supply side. So like helping them understand how to actually produce these products and access talent, and we have university courses and stuff like that, which leaves a gap on the distribution side, right? And this is a new category that's still being created. I mean, many people still assume that it's the same as the previous generation of products, which it's not, right? So I think nutritionists have influence over consumers and can be great partners to these entrepreneurs and these companies in the distribution of their products. So we encourage you to reach out to some of these companies, and I think all of them would be very, very happy to talk to you about it. What you can talk to your own I think your own clients or the consumers that you talk to about as a nutritionist would be, I think, generally educating them about the importance of complete protein or protein in general as a macronutrient, and then their diverse sources, whether they're animal based or plant based. I think within plant-based, this is a great new category of foods that has emerged and gives you the option of consuming it. So I think all the things we've talked about in this conversation about how it can be nutrient complete, right? How it can be, it basically has a lot of good stuff in it and takes out some of the bad stuff like cholesterol, etc. So I think talking about all of these things is a great opportunity for nutritionists to expand this set of habits that these consumers have, and get to where we all want to go, which is live a thriving, well-fed and highly nutrient-rich life.
Well, that brings us to the end of a Q&A, and it was indeed a very insightful session on how soy has been helping us in building the protein content and what are the other benefits of soy that includes vitamin C, folate, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, to name a few. But what we also learned was how soy is being used in the food industry and how government can actually use it to overcome very critical issues that India actually faces, which include malnutrition. So, now before we conclude, we would also request our panelists to give us brief closing remarks on the role of soy protein in bridging the protein gap in India, starting with you, Mr. Varun.
I'll repeat something that I said earlier, which is to say that this is an absolutely critical thing that we have to address within the next few years, really, if we want our demographic dividend to pay off for each and every one of us, wherever you come from, where chances are we are deficient in protein. And I think that soy and micronutrients as well, of course, and soy has a key role to play as one of the premier plant protein sources as part of that diverse set of proteins. So for us, we focus on these next generation, really interesting products that offer a choice to consumers and to producers to get involved in the future of food. So we're happy to kind of work with anyone here in the audience. You can just check us out at gfi.org.in. I'll put it in the chat as well for everyone. And we really think that soya is one of the sources that's going to underpin this next wave of the protein diversification in India.
Dr. Suresh.
Yeah, I've been talking about this. Soy is actually the solution for meeting the protein requirement in India, as we have seen that very high incidence of protein deficiency. And this is one of the best answers we have. Not only is meeting the protein requirement, but also looking at the improving the protein quality, like we discussed earlier, and also to alleviate the malnutrition. The micronutrient protein plays a very, very important role. That is another one side of our population. And coming to the other side of population with a high incidence of diet-related degenerative diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, or osteoporosis, what Namami mentioned. So soy can play a very, very important role in fighting these diseases and maybe improving the immunity. So looking at all these things, and if you include soy in our daily diet, at least one portion in a day, definitely will boost our nutritional status, boost our immunity, and improve our health status. And if government take it seriously and then try to introduce in some of those high feeding programs, like I said, 1.9 of 190 million feeding beneficiaries we have, I think this can go a long way in making the society healthier. And the soy being one of the highly sustainable to produce soy to the growing population around the world with limited land, water availability, and less stress on the environment. I think soy can be one of the best answers for the mankind. And I encourage everybody start consuming soy, at least one portion a day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. Ms. Namami, coming to you.
So I feel soy is, it's a source of protein. So talking about protein in a broader aspect, protein, it's good for your immunity. Like I said, it's good for bone health, it's good for digestion, it's good for heart health, everything. So it also controls your appetite, so you feel satisfied. In India, we generally do not, we see people not consuming enough protein, and abnormal protein requirement is 0.8%, 0.8 grams per kg body weight. So, in India, we generally, our requirement is 0.8 grams per kg body weight. So, to meet that requirement, we have to we have to look for different sources of protein, and soy is one of the best source, which makes it a complete protein. So yes, I do urge to, if you want to include plant-based protein source, soy is the best option.
Thank you so much, Ms. Namami. I'm very glad that we have been able to bust some very important myths around soy and spread this information, as awareness is critical and initiatives like Right to Protein and Soy Month are very important to increase the public information about soy protein for a better tomorrow. I really appreciate all the experts for joining us, and a very big thank you to the attendees for tuning in. Uh, Thank you and goodbye. I hope you all stay safe.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank you,
Rashmi.
everyone. Take
Thank you,
care.
Varun. Thank you, Namam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.